What's up, guys? Welcome to the first workshop of the year. My name is Alex. I'm the vice president of the club, and today I want to talk to you. Since it is our first workshop, I want to talk to you about the hackers and the different types of hackers, and also the methodology that they proceed their infiltration, also what they do when they target a specific machine or system, and also some little things that you could do to protect yourself against these type of hackers. And so the word hacker itself is very overgeneralized sometimes, and they are often categorized as three subcategories, right? They're always the white hat hackers, the good guys, the ethical hackers, and there's the black hat, the bad guys, the non-ethical, they're working for money or political gain, and the gray hat hackers, in which a lot of people see themselves as falling into, where they hack and then they would write up um, a paper about it and then submit it to the company about the bugs, so bounty hunters, and they would try to get money off the company because of the work that they did or the machine that they were able to infiltrate. And but we want to look at them as threat actors, right? We want to see what kind of hackers. So what is their intention and what it is that they do when it comes to um, is it are they malicious or are they just people who are trying to get money? So there are different types of them, and there are seven different types of actors, and these are just an overview because there is different subcategories within um, those subcategories itself, because it's an ongoing chain of threat actors. So at first you see the cyber terrorists. um, they are people who want to create just chaos, and usually they harm businesses, state machineries, power grids, and also they want to just create as much destruction as they can. And these people are just the terrorists, but they, instead of hurting them physically, they would hurt the cyber world. So one of them is the WannaCry ransomware. This was a ransomware that took place in 2017. They hacked Windows servers, and they were able to affect like 200,000 machines or like that. And they say until today we don't know exactly who's in charge, who is responsible for this attack, but a lot of people are accusing the North Koreans for the attack, and it was they were able to infect Windows servers and encrypt all of their data, and saying that within um, 3 days they need to submit a payment through Bitcoin, or else all of the data will be wiped. And this and a lot of people actually paid them a lot of money, and they were able to there was some that just wiped, you know um depending what it is, but they caused a lot of harm and a lot of after effects to a lot of different machines and companies in the United States and around the world. And after that you see government sponsored, state sponsored actors. So these are government um, endorsed hacking organization, in which their sole purpose is to steal intelligence, is to kind of see and spy on different nations, on and different organization. And an example of that would be different kind of so China has been one of our number one target of corporate or national espionage. So they steal intelligence. They're told that they were spying on the US through many different applications, one of them being TikTok recently, who was accused of being a profiling application from the Chinese government. These things are constantly happening around the world, and China is not only one of them. Every country, every majority, like big countries or small countries that have political gain or a political agenda, they would want to know what is happening in different nations and what they're dealing with, and secrets that they could know about, military secrets, financial secrets. So you could trade that or use that against the other country. And this is their main purpose of the cre- and also now there's organized crime. Organized crime are people who have Their main agenda is financial gain, and their typical target is cash or data-rich organization and businesses. One of them was Albert Gonzalez, and he was known as Soup Nazi. He was a person who was hired by many different corporations to hack into their network to see if there is vulnerabilities and threats within their network. However, he turned to the bad side and he started hacking onto credit cards, stealing 130 million card numbers and selling them onto the black market. And he made all his money for about 2 years or 3 years until he got caught. Um, and these are the Heartland Payment, 7-Eleven. There's a lot of different companies in which he was able to infiltrate and obtain all these credit cards information. And he went on a run, and I believe that the government caught. I'm not quite sure which government caught him, but I think it was the United States government who caught him, and it was the biggest cyber heist of like 21st century or something. It was a really large theft in U.S. retailers. That's what he focused his hacks on. Then, of course, there's the hacktivists who goals are to expose secrets, disrupting services and organizations that are seen as evil. So they want to help the people by uh, leaking out secrets of big corporations. One of them being LulzSec. So LulzSec was an organization in which was um, the the founder was someone named Gonzalez something, and this one Hector Xavier Monsegur, and he was one of the founder, and his name was Sabu online, and then there was 7 other members of LulzSec, and they had um a lot of different attacks. They target government, they target big corporations. However, at the end, after everybody kind of got caught, Sabu, the former leader, actually start working for the FBI to to uncover different kind of cyber crimes and cyber attacks and help FBI stop them. So there's a lot of turnovers too you see in these hackers community where bad guys turn good guys. So, and then we have insiders, people who work within an organization and know its cybersecurity framework and leak information, or they work with a cyber criminal to bring down the organization, either for profit or it's for profit or political agenda or anything like that. We also have script kiddies. Script kiddies are attackers to any network secured systems and organization, but the the thing about script kiddies are usually they just find um, cookie cutter scripts online, and usually they use those. They use resources online and also different kind of. They don't really have the knowledge of these other hackers and others penetration tester or anything like that. All they target easy to penetrate system in which have like widely known threats. So they focus on things that are super already known to be like vulnerable, and they're they just want to vandalize or they want to inflict as much damage as possible. And there was also the internal user errors, in which are people who not sure how to use their computer. They either sometimes sit on a network as a user or an administrator. However, they're unsure of how the whole system works, so they happen to like leak information or put their password onto somewhere that is not secure using a flawed manager. So those are also seen as a threat because of the fact that you're jeopardizing the security of your system and things like that. So where do we stand as a community, or like where do we want to stand, right? So we're using um at who speak if cyber can you okay, I'm just gonna cool. So where do we stand as a club? So we want to use these people and their motive as a way for us to know where are they going to come from and their ideology for us to be able to create a stronger front so that they cannot attack us. So being putting up a defender before they get to attack or knowing what it is that they're going to do, so we could try to do those steps, and we know how to create a secure system where we are the like one step ahead of them, right? We want to know how to anything that we could protect our system against. So we want to see what it is that they go through when they select a target. Let's just say Pace University is their target. Is it like what is it that they go through, the steps that they do? This is an overall view. Of course, there is always the little nitty gritty things that goes beyond the whole scheme of it, and they follow a certain the, they follow these steps. And we made our lesson for the years based on this methodology so that we could go one by one each week about what it is that we do from step one to step five or step six, whatever it is. And one of them being information, okay, information gathering, network mapping, vulnerable identification, penetration, privilege escalation, and maintaining access. So first, we would want to perform reconnaissance, right? There's two different type of recons. So reconnaissance are basically you scouting the lay of the land and you trying to see what operating system they're running, what kind of machine it is, how many servers do they have, and there's passive and active. The passive is the non-interactive research. So you are not interacting with the actual server. You are Google searching, maybe you know people that work there, so you do LinkedIn searches, and then any information gathering without interacting with the actual target itself, right? Once you do like dumpster diving and you try to tailgate someone into the entrance, and then when they open the door you go inside as well, that is already interacting with the building. You're trespassing. Those are an active kind of way for you to do your reconnaissance. So the active one is the step that actually quote unquote is illegal because the fact that you are breaking some kind of rules. Either it is federal or within the company itself, like trespassing or loitering or um, you gathering data that you're not supposed to gather and you just snooping over their stuff. That's already kind of on the not good side. It's not. I wouldn't say it's illegal, but I would say like it's not good already. So after you would check out what it is that they have, how many servers they have, where it is, how big the company is, you would do scanning and enumeration. So what scanning and enumeration is, you're able to see how their infrastructure insides are laid out. So their network or what version OS they're running and what system that they have and the if they have public hosting that you could connect to, like a guest login or anything like that, to the internal server. And one tool in which helps a lot with that network, especially for network mapping, is Nmap. Nmap is a great tool for you. It stands for Network Mapper, and it helps you see what kind of ports are open for different kind of services for the actual network. Um, as you know, different kind of ports is associated with different kind of service. So 22 is SSH, 80 is HTTP, 8080 is HTTPS. And also with this in mind, you could see different kind of exploitation that you could do. So if it's on a port 80, you know that's a web service, right? That's a HTTP server. So you could now try to see if there's any kind of web exploitation that you could do. If it's on WordPress, maybe you could see some kind of vulnerability with the settings that they have, or if it's SSH or a different kind of SMTP, which is a simple mailing. It's for emails. You could see if there's vulnerability in that. Sometimes, if you do different kind of script with an Nmap, you could see the actual versions. So this one in the screen right now, you just see the regular Nmap, so you don't really see the the server the OS or the version that they're using, but there's different kind of script that you could run, and this is already pre-built in Kali Linux. However, you can't this part you cannot nmap, like you cannot network map corporate network because of the fact that you would also be trespassing actually. And after you have the wait okay, so after you're able to scan and enumerate, so let's just say they have a website, and then inside that website you could do a directory listing. So where is their website listed, and then the file system that hosts their website, like their index.html, or if they have a PHP server, anything like that. Through that, you could find vulnerability, right? These vulnerabilities can be uh, found online also. There's CVE repository. MITRE has one also. MITRE has one of the big ones. There's also MITRE have attack, in which is filled with different kind of framework in which you could uh, exploit these networks and secure web websites and web servers, web application. And once you're able to use some kind of mapping, enumeration mapping, and find a bug or a particular vulnerability that you could exploit, now you could use a tool like Metasploit. Metasploit is a payload execution in which you put the script or the code for the vulnerability into Metasploit, and you inject it, and then you now run that. And through Metasploit, you're able to initially get the initial foothold, get your foot in the door for you to start seeing around inside the internal network. Then there is the escalation of privilege, right? Once you're inside and you have your foot in the door, now this is the time you peek into the different things that you see inside, what you have access for. At this point, when you get your foot in the door, you are a guest user, so you don't really have that many. You can't run sudo, you can't run a lot of the different things. So you would need to uh, lift up your capability by escalating your privilege. You want to be the highest of the highest is the root admin. So you want to be, everybody wants to be able to run different kind of commands. You kind of force your way into opening application, closing application, deleting files, deleting directory, and this blog, in which called blog.gotmilk.com. It's a blog in which the writer talks about privilege escalation. So he just talk about Linux privilege escalation actually mostly, and then to see the different kind of way in which you could um, make yourself as root through different kind of vulnerabilities within the system. So for you to be able to hack into a network or a machine, there was a lot of different vulnerabilities that, because it's not just one vulnerability and you just go in and you just become root right away, right? There's a lot of different hurdles that you need to go through, because there's a lot of different policies and security firewalls or anything like that that is in place between you and the secure system inside the internal system. And um, a lot of people works to that, and then from there some of them do leave after they delete like a lot of the most internal. I mean, wait, when you delete the internal components that you need to run, and then that's what they want to do. They want to destroy the server or destroy the capabilities. Like they would just leave. However, if you want to go inside again, you would need to maintain access, right? So you would need to install rootkits, and for you to, let's just say they unplug their computer and they plug it back in, they turn it off and turn it back on. You would need to be able to log back in there. So making sure that, so you would probably like deploy a virus that make you contain the connection between your networks and their network, or um, they want to be able to communicate seamlessly through the two without needing to pass all those hurdles again in case one get patched or anything like that. And another way for them to do that is placing backdoors also. Placing backdoors allows them to come back at a later time through, even though the front, let's just say the security got scrapped and then they replace it with a new one. You still have that virus in the inside that is not doing anything but listening to your command to connect to the computer again. And once you're able to do that, you reestablish the connection that you have, and you're back at where you were as root in the server. Um, and then also before you place that backdoor, you also cover your tracks and delete the logs because all of these connections are logged. And through that, there's a lot of people who has been found doing illegal activities on the cyber network because of they don't simply cover their track. And these are the type of um, things that people would get caught with, like the simplest thing, like deleting logs, and also making sure that you don't um, mix things up and replay replace files that were not there, make raise suspicion, so they would find your backdoor and stuff like that. And so there's a lot of different tools in which a lot of different ways for you to protect yourself, but not everybody knows about creating firewalls, creating security policy. So these are the rules and steps for you for anyone. So like people with the least amount of knowledge, and also people that you look out for, maybe your family and your home network, like the little tiny network that composed of three different computers, and a PS4, and um, there's verifying hashes, creating a strong password, virtual private networks, and updating your antivirus. Although as silly those sounds, they actually will create a bubble around you and the outside internet that is very malicious at times. There's people who are trying to find different networks for them to hack into, either to just steal credit card information or steal any kind of credentials that they could get their hands on. Frame verifying hashes is it's so hashing is a one-way function in which you convert your file, not convert your file, you look at the file within its binary, and you create a key to that, right? So when you guys download Kali Linux, you see that there's a SHA-256 next to it, and a lot of people do think about that and say, "Oh, what is this key for?" Like a lot of people question that. So this sits here because of the fact that maybe we were to give you the the image, and you want to make sure that nothing is altered. So through that key, that 256 you're able to check by putting your file onto a SHA-256 encryptor, and then see if the number matches, because just one letter off from the inside component of the file will change this 256 It will change the overall string of it, and it will not be the same. And these are a way for you to check for legitimate files like pictures, images, Google files, Docs file, anything like that. And this one requires a little bit of knowledge because not everybody know about hashes and also verification of them. So next one comes password. Like password is very important step because it's a whole part of the authentication. The password is the only part that you need for you to separate yourself from someone who just logs in for your computer. Other than two-factor authentication, of course, two-factor authentication is another layer of protection. However, having your password being a strong password is a very good step to protecting yourself from infiltrator and also people who try to hack you. But what is a great password and what is a crazy password, right? There's companies nowadays that are requesting their employees to change their password every 2-3 weeks. But and then these people are just often using the password generator on your computer. When you create a new account, they suggest you a password like, oh, try this random string of text, underscore NN3Z capital V. And some of them are very case sensitive, so you need to actually put the capital V. And you're not going to remember that. So you're going to use a password manager, and you're going to rely on those things, right? Or if you use multiple computers, you're going to write it down because you're not going to remember that. It's a silly password. And now that piece of paper becomes a threat and also a vulnerability within the system. If anybody have that piece of paper, now they know your password. but creating a password that are long and memorable, like 37 crazy kids from Queens Pog, or something as silly as that could actually be as strong as the password of random string of text, but this case you would be able to remember it. Creating password that is you could say out loud or things like that. This program that is on the screen is just a online calculator for the strength of these password by comparing it to um, if it were to be generated through brute force. So there's a lot of different password lists online. One of the biggest one being this file called RockU, and it was a part of a big uh, data leak, and then these password lists were like pulled together through those data leaks and data breaches, and they're all shared online. So if there were to brute force and do a dictionary um, attack on you, meaning like from a list, they would try one by one from that list, like a dictionary. Like those are these compared to those kind of like tests and those kind of attack. So that's how they are able to tell you if the complexity is very strong or the score is 100 based on these numbers and different categories that they have. And this part is only for brute forcing based on the I think it was the incremental thing. So like they do how many characters are able to be placed and multiply that to the power of how many the string are, and that's how they're calculating these. So and the next one will be VPN. So VPN is a very is a great way for you to isolate yourself from the external internet world by creating a tunnel of encrypted tunnel that puts you and the internet stays between you and the internet. So this is from NordVPN. I just found the picture because I was like, okay, cool. And you stand on one side, and this tunnel would put you as a different location or a different IP at a so when you are accessing this website, Facebook, YouTube, you would be placed in other areas of the world, and this in this way that your action would not be traced to you, not because of the fact that you become anonymous. They would need to hop through many different servers and IPs in order to find you at the end of it. And that's the way the virtual private networks work. Um, they just creates more hubs. But the only bad thing about this is if you're playing a game that requires high short latency, this would increase the latency of the game, right? So your pings would be like at 100 if you're using a VPN and you're gaming. So that's the only thing because it's the constant stream of data. And a regular, you're streaming a video, you're watching Netflix, it'll be fine, completely fine. And it just protects you from these bad people online. So like ads, targeted ads, the government spies, corporate ad, and these hackers that are all online nowadays. And antivirus. So antivirus are there. Google has the Windows Defender, in which scans through all of your files to make sure that none of it are viruses, malware, anything like that. However, you could also install antivirus that are always updating every day and scanning through your files to see if there was any kind of thing that they see malicious. So the way antivirus works is that these are security companies that look through every kind of data breach and every kind of viruses, and they store their hash. So basically, to see what kind of file it is, and they would see if these hashes or these keys are same of any file that you have in your computer. So if you have the same key, that means they think that it's a virus. So you should check it out, or they delete it for you, or they would clean up your cache for you, and then to make sure that there is no access information that people could get their hands on when they're using their computer, or when you are accessing the internet and you're accessing different kind of information online, downloading stuff, and you should always continue getting your antivirus updated. So if there's a new update, uh, you should always update your antivirus because of the fact that these keys are always getting added. New keys are always getting added. Everybody, people who cyber criminals, like they're always trying to create different kind of new virus, new malware, ransomware. Like um, if you were hit by the WannaCry back in 2017, if you don't pay the $300, you lose complete control and all your data on your computer because of the fact that they were able to encrypt the whole hard drive. And with that in mind, there's a lot of information that you do not want to lose. And the thing was, a lot of question was why didn't the WannaCry just steals the information and instead of making the ransomware where people would um, need to pay them, you know, they would for them to sell the information, it would take some time. And for them to just collect the $300 from everybody on like 200,000 computers, they would just be rich overnight in that sense. They had 3 days for you to pay. And it was just these criminals are always trying to find the fastest way for them to make money. So, and that, like, a lot of people don't upgrade their antivirus. And when something hits like that, it's is very quick. It's within 3 days, your whole computer's wet. And these kind of malwares and viruses are always found online every day because people are deploying them on different kind of servers and different kind of computers. So these security companies work very hard to do research and also find these viruses to scan. And I feel like, and that ends my presentation. Does anybody have any questions?